Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Tim, I've never seen behind the curtain. Like, what do you think about these calls? There's some very tight calls that have been made. Is there an edict that goes out at the start of the playoffs? Guys, call everything, no matter what. Or, like, how do they do that?
Basically, Mr. Bettman gets on either the day in the morning before the first game of the playoffs that day or the night before. We have a conference call with Gary Bettman, Stephen Wackham, Colin Campbell, and Bill Daly. And Gary's message is very clear. We want you to call the standard that you have been calling all year, the hooks on the hands, the trips, the slashes, anything that we didn't bring in new rules, but in 2004, we said, okay, Stephen Wackham's like, we got to open up this game. Let's call the rule book. And that's when we started calling hooks in the hands and slashing and so on. So I said, I was on with another show a while ago, and they said, the referees throw away the whistle in the playoffs. That's not true, especially in the first round. Guys are based, so we have 20 referees, Rod. 12 of them will go to the second round. So 8 guys get cut after the first round, and you don't want to be one of those 8 because, you're getting a bonus for each round that you work. And plus the pride factor, you also want to work. So guys are based on, the guy's performance is based on Stephen Wackham is watching every game as Colin Campbell is, and they will rate the referees. This guy's calling the standard. This guy's letting too much go. And, the old adage of let the players decide the game. Well, when we decide that we're not going to call penalties, then we're kind of deciding the game.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I whined for 20 years or more about Kelly McCrimmon and his tactics because we couldn't beat him. And I would sit there and go up into the commissioner right in his face. Why are you letting him do this? And he'd just stare at me. And I would whine to everybody about what Kelly was doing. Nobody cared. So all I'm saying is, because I've been there, shut up about it. Because it's not going to stop.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Good intro, guys. Thank you, Tuna, our producer, Tuna Turner. What's love got to do with it? I feel like this is just a continuation of yesterday's show. I swear to God, we're back. I feel like we never really went anywhere. It's episode number 1,230 of your favorite daytime sports talk show, coming at you from Game Plus Television on your TV. On the radio, WQEE 99.1 FM. Shout out to Rhino Radio down there in Atlanta where they love this show so much. And then streaming too. Let's bring in Moose. He is on the road. He is getting ready to, tonight, host the University of Regina Rams football fundraising banquet where the guest speakers are Moose, new Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace, and new Saskatchewan offensive coordinator Mark Mueller. We're going to get to hockey right away, come back around on football. But did I miss anybody? Is that the docket tonight, Moose?
It's going to be a great night. Really looking forward to it. And if you got any good backstories on Mark Mueller, because I know you're extremely close to the Mueller family, hey, I could use some ammo.
It's amazing that you would say that, everybody. Just hang on, everybody, before we hit the quick six show horn, and we'll see if Jordan is awake this morning or not. And by the way, the guests are Glen Howard, 4-time world men's curling champion, Glen Howard, and Jim Lang, Canada's foremost NFL insider. But I was thinking about this as I was setting up for today's show. Mark Mueller is the grandson of the greatest Saskatchewan Rough Rider of them all, Ron Lancaster, Hall of Famer, went on to coach many Grey Cups. Mark Mueller, as a baby and a toddler, not lying here, true story, they didn't read him nursery rhymes. They didn't read him, they didn't let him watch Sesame Street. When he was going to bed at night, they read him rule books of NHL, NFL, CFL, NBA, rule books and history books of the game. And game film was what he watched. He didn't get to watch children's shows. That's what he watched, man. If you want to know why he was built for this role of coaching in pro football and soon to be management one day, you ask him and see if that's true, Darren, because I believe it's true.
I'm going to ask him tonight. I like that. That's a good story.
Hell of a story. And the other guy that was like that was Hugh Campbell, the great Huey Campbell, who I believe that's where the Muellers got the idea. Okay, can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan, and then we'll go. The big story. We've got many today. We'll start with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Brad Marchand broke a tie midway through the third period, and the Boston Bruins beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-2 Wednesday night to take a 2-1 lead in the first-round playoff series. After Todd Bertuzzi tied it for Toronto with 8:35 to go, Marchand put the Bruins back in front 28 seconds later, took a pass from Danton Heinen, ripped a shot past goalie Ilya Samsonov's ear. Marchand capped the scoring with an empty netter. From the Canadian Press post-game story, and I quote, "The home side was left frustrated by a player who spent a lot of his career doing exactly that," said Leafs head coach Sheldon Keefe post-game. "The gamesmanship and everything, it's world-class. He's been in the league long enough. He gets calls. It's unbelievable, actually, how it goes. We've got to play through that," unquote. Jake DeBrusk and Trent Frederick also scored for Boston. Jeremy Swayman made 28 saves. They now lead the series 2-1. Hold your comments to the end. We're getting to the end soon. In Dallas, Noah Hannafin broke a tie with an unassisted goal late in the second period, and Stanley Cup champion Vegas beat top-seeded Dallas 3-1 to take a 2-0 lead in the first-round series. Hannafin was one of 3 trade deadline acquisitions for the Knights, the number 8 seed in the Western Conference, and we wind it up in Edmonton, where I think Bernie Nichols might have been the kiss of death for the Oilers yesterday. Anze Kopitar fired a wrist shot past Stuart Skinner's glove and into the top corner on a breakaway in overtime to give Los Angeles a 5-4 victory over Edmonton in Game 2 to tie up that series 1-1. Kings rebounded from a 7-4 loss Monday night in the opener to send it back to L.A. 1-1. Game 3 goes Friday night. Okay, we got a lot to unpack, not the least of which is Joe Bowen. That's coming up. Sheldon Keefe's post-game comments. You and I both picked Boston to win last night. It's just a feeling I had. William Nylander did not play for a third straight game. How much trouble are the Leafs in your mind?
Not that much trouble. I thought for the most part they played okay. Tough start, though, at home, taking a penalty, puck over glass by a defenseman in Simon Benoit, who's played really well, this year with the Leafs, young D-man. But, it's one game, and I assume this series, I predicted at the beginning it's going to go 7, and I don't think either team really has been able to string games together. I think it's going to go 1-1, 1-1, 1. It's going to go like a yo-yo back and forth. So I expect Toronto to bounce back, but a good effort on the road from Boston.
I just want to dab in some information here. Producer Clark is watching and writes in, and he says, "I'm checking in from Etobicoke. Hitting the links today, hoping the Leafs won't be doing the same thing soon." We'll be talking about producer Clark more in a second, and I should interject and say David number 1 from Winnipeg has chimed in already and said the interview with Tim Peel yesterday was great. Fantastic. I could have talked to Tim Peel forever. Serena afterwards, she's like, yeah, Tim Peel again? I'm like, I could have him on every day. He's my kind of guy. And it's amazing how much I've got to be friends with the refs post career in hockey, but whatever. Back to the Leafs. I think they're in trouble, Darren, because they can't get Marchand out of their head. That's the problem. And I'm sitting here going, they are the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. I'm the Cowboys fan. So you can sit there and say, are you going to be an idiotic Leaf fan like many? I may or may not be referring to you and Clark. And beat your head against the wall every year and expect different results, which, incidentally, I have more on that in a second. You said it, man. It's their demon. The Bruins are their demon, and they're failing, Darren. They're failing. Nylander, I don't think, would have made a difference last night. Marchand's owning them. He's owning them. Forget about MLSE. Brad Marchand owns the Leafs. You think?
Yeah, I do. And when you're playing somebody, a nemesis that's as, lopsided in your history as Boston has been recently to Toronto, it's not going to be easy. David versus Goliath. It's not like David smacks around Goliath for the whole thing and gets through no problem. You know, you're going to take your shots. It's going to be really hard. You're going to get beat. But through all of that, through a 7-game series, you need to learn how to overcome this. This is another piece of adversity with Marchand. They got to learn how to get him out of their head and overcome this. And I don't know that they can recover if they lose game 4.
Amazing how many people are into this game. Spoiler alert, I was watching the Miami Heat at the Boston Celtics. We'll bring that up in our sports update. You kind of get swallowed up in it here as the Heat hit a franchise record 23 three-pointers in an upset victory over the Celtics and bringing it back to South Florida, 1-1. But I can't believe how many people are into it. Like Utah, Darren writes in and he says, game was over as soon as the Bruins retook the lead in less than a minute after the Leafs tied it. Ted in Red Deer says, morning all. From a Bruins perspective, do they keep switching the goalies? I think yes. Tank in the Energy City writes in and says, at least Toronto won a game. Dallas is in huge trouble going down 0-2. Us Stars fans are on edge, which you should be. Speaking of the Energy City, hotelier Jeff wrote me about him picking the Stars to win this series. I'm like, this series? Brother, I picked him to win the Stanley Cup for... Which is interesting, by the way, through all of that. This is the first spring since probably I was in high school, didn't have hair on my peaches yet, that I'm not in a draft with players. You and I are in the same Bracket Buster podcast, Bracket Buster Challenge with the Hughes Sports podcast, but I'm not in a draft. To be honest, it's taken away a little of the interest in terms of I'm not checking the score sheet like what I'm used to. But it's given me a little more of an unbiased feeling. I'm just following the Stanley Cup playoffs a little more differently. Should the Bruins continue switching goalies? Yes. Do whatever you're doing that's working. End of story. That is my thoughts on that. It's like the Eagles when they had 2 quarterbacks, right? For all to the end of time, when they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, after Wentz went down, Foles came in and won him a Super Bowl. All of a sudden, it's like, you can have 2 quarterbacks. I used to be the guy that said, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. If you got 2 goalies, you don't have one. The Eagles put that to bed, and the Bruins are doing that with their goaltending situation. Now, before we move on, because I got to talk about the Dallas-Vegas situation, you pointed out Joe Bowen's tweet, the voice of the Leafs. Because you're the Leafs fan and the huge Joe Bowen fan, can you summarize, paraphrase what he said, please?
Yeah, Joe Bowen basically said the home crowd is not there to react to when things go good. That's part of it. But they're there to get the fans going, to get the players going, and initiate the atmosphere. And he said, the players can't say it, so I will. The crowd in Game 3 was extremely disappointing. That's from Joe Bowen. So I put it in our group chat, asked producer Clark, who was in the building for Game 3, said, how was it? What do you think? And he said, it was electric. Now, any Leaf fan will love it. I've been to Leaf games in places like Calgary and Edmonton where, to be honest, the atmosphere is through the roof. Even from the Leaf fans, loud, go Leafs, go chants, all the rest. I've been to Leaf games now only in the regular season. In Toronto, you don't get a go Leafs, go chant in the middle of the game. You don't get things. You get some cheering when there's goals, certain situations. But I leave the game thinking, okay, the crowd's pretty good. You know, they're whatever. And then I watch the Oilers and Kings at night. And let me tell you, you feel the crowd coming through your television set. Like, I'm like, oh my God, how are the Kings playing in here? This is nuts. I never had that feeling once in the game in Toronto in Game 3. And that's, I think, pretty universally felt throughout the hockey world.
I appreciate the input. And while that's all probably true, number one, producer Clark was there. And if you noticed his response, he goes, I thought it was fine. I thought it was electric. So there's that. And Clark, there's nothing the Leafs could do wrong in Clark's mind. So there's that. 2, from Joe Bowen, who's been doing it for decades. But I also called play-by-play and was the voice of teams for decades, too. More than anything, while he may be right and he may actually feel it, I also think he's distracted. It was a distraction. I was the king of that, and you know that. you were a Rider fan before you knew me, I would always throw out the bait and switch and get people running off in the wrong direction and totally take the focus off your team. Let's not forget the Leafs crapped in their skates last night. And when I woke up this morning, more people are talking about Joe Bowen than that, or the fact that Brad Marchand owns them. How much do you think there's that Joe is throwing out a distraction from the team?
That's a good point. And, wouldn't be a terrible thing to do. I think there's part of it. And I think there's some of that because, as you say, we're not really talking about William Nylander this morning. The heat's kind of off William Nylander, and it's all on this tweet from Joe Bowen, and it's all on Brad Marchand.
Right. But we never get it. And in a way, I'm mad at myself. The Dallas is up 2-0, and you sit there and go, well, Dallas is down 2-0. Dallas was the number 1 seed. Vegas was the 8th seed. It shouldn't be this way. But then you think about it and go, well, Vegas didn't have Noah Hanifin. Vegas didn't have Thomas Hertl through the whole year till the trade. They're not the 8th seed. And I'm sitting there going, God, I fell for it again. My own advice was to never take the Golden Knights lightly, never sleep on Vegas. They'll always be a contender as long as Kelly McCrimmon's in charge. And I picked Dallas to win the damn series. I'm mad at myself because I fell for it again. And it's like these Leafs fans and you people that love your milk and honey, you're falling for it. You're getting distracted by what Joe Bo is saying, and your team is going to lose again. Dallas Cowboys 101. So, Eddie, I was talking to an old, he won't like that. He watches this show every day. Older than me, hockey coach. How about that, Moose?
That's
in
funny.
Western Canada. And when we were talking about McCrimmon, and for like 25 years, I got PTSD from losing to this guy. That nobody won more games in the time frame that he was in Brandon than the Wheat Kings. Nobody won. Which, by the way, we put out the meme yesterday that the whining about Vegas is unbecoming. I don't know if you read any of the responses from that, but one guy wrote in and said, most of the whining's coming from Edmonton. And I'm like, I never geotagged where the whining's coming from, but that sounds about right. I'm not Calgary because we don't hear anything from Calgary, and I, in a way, respect that. Calgary, are you there? At least they're not whining. When they miss the playoffs, man, they gone. You don't even know Calgary's there. But although I fell for it again, man. God. One day we'll get it, Moose. One day.
I know. We'll get it one day. But, I was thinking about that. I'm like, how is Vegas doing this? And then you start looking at their roster, and you mentioned Noah Hanifin. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thomas Hertl. Oh, yeah. Of course, they get Mark Stone back. And they still have the playoff MVP in Jonathan Marchand. So they got about 6 goalies who can win a Stanley Cup. They're pretty good. They're a pretty good team. And this is the most unfortunate for Dallas.
Listen, it ain't over, Stars fans. And that's our poll question, which I didn't tweet yet. But the poll question is, which 2-0 series is going to go the longest? Vegas, Dallas, Rangers, Capitals, Islanders, Hurricanes, or Panthers, Lightning, which I haven't even talked about yet. Oh, my God, I got to think this Dallas series is going to go 6 or 7. I sure hope so. But they'll figure it out. That's why they got Peter DeBoer. Stacy's watching at Access World Headquarters right in, and he says, Dallas losing will destroy my playoff pool. Hello. Yeah, all of us, bro. All of us. Except for anybody outside the 702 area code. I think that's what Dallas's, Vegas, Nevada's area code is. Utah Darren says some arenas and fan bases are just more rabid. Some arenas and fan bases may get loud, but find fandom to be distasteful and beneath them. Yeah, well, yeah. He's Mr. NHL now, Utah Darren. He's got a team in his backyard. See what he did there? We spent the whole opening segment largely on the Leafs and a little on Vegas. We got a lot more to get to when we come back. And on the way, Glen Howard and Jim Lang We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just before we bring the Moose back in, a reminder, reward your love for movies by signing up for Landmark Extras for free today. Get more of what you love, free movies and concession items, special invites to exclusive screenings, special events. There are 3 programs to choose from to fit your lifestyle. Go to landmarkcinemas.com for details. Now we can bring the Moose in. He is emceeing the Regina Rams banquet tonight with new Riders coach Corey Mace and offensive coordinator Mark Mueller speaking as well. Just regarding Calgary and how we haven't heard from them, Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in. He says, Calgary sports fans never whine unless we have a legit reason. Flames not being good enough for the playoffs isn't a legitimate reason to whine. I miss Calgary. I wish that we were going back there for a period with the RP show this summer. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. We're going to be in and out for a visit, but it doesn't look like we'll be hosting the show there this summer, which it is what it is. We're going to be in Saskatchewan. I don't want to be in Florida in the summertime. But as you know, I can say it now. My immigration lawyer here said, not that long ago, and you remember because I told you, he goes, you don't ever have to leave the United States again if you don't want to. Ever. I'm like, that feels good. There was a restriction on days type thing, and that's why I was bouncing back and forth between Calgary, Saskatchewan, and here. But now, legally, I'm here, and I go back to Canada because I want to, and that's what I'm going to do this summer for some events that we're working on. Any thoughts before we move on to other things, Darren?
No, I'm ready to move on. I think we got a good debrief on what happened last night, and we can look ahead.
We just got them going. We just scratched the surface, which is cool. Big one tonight, Battle of Florida in Tampa, which also reminds me, I wanted to say this. I'm seeing my media brethren from South Florida over there in Tampa, and they're really rubbing it in for Game 3. We're going for Game 4, and the Lightning have been great. But I am against all unnecessary travel. I'm against it. I don't need to go. So I'm not. Could have been, but we'll go for Game 4. A Super Bowl, these types of things, that's different. Even Grey Cups, that's different. But if I don't need to go, I'm not leaving the area code. I love it here that much. But speaking of that, the NFL draft is tonight, round 1. Jaden Daniels handled the media with the same poise and command he displays in the pocket. Asked a few times about speculation that he doesn't want to play for Washington and whether he prefers going to another team. Daniels understandably took a diplomatic approach yesterday when meeting the media. The 2023 Heisman Trophy winner from LSU is expected to be one of the top 3 players taken tonight in round 1. After USC quarterback Caleb Williams goes to Chicago first overall, Daniels is the odds-on favorite to get to the number 2 selection, according to BetMGM Sportsbook. So, my guy Chris Pomey is on his way to Detroit. I was trying to get him on the show today. He's from Guelph, Ontario, does a show out of there. But he couldn't. He's driving right now. He couldn't make it, but he's going tonight. Asked if I was going. I'm like, we can't be everywhere. But it's going to be an unreal night of sports tonight. Game 3, Battle of Florida, round 1 NFL draft. Got some great NBA games. What will you be watching the NFL draft for tonight? There's a lot of reasons to watch.
Yeah, I think for me, and I think for a lot of people, and I know it seems to be the case every year, but more than any other year, I'm watching for what plays out with the quarterbacks after Caleb Williams. There's so much intrigue between Drake May and will he go to the Patriots? Will somebody else step up? Jaden Daniels to the Commanders at number 2. What happens to Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy? Does Michael Penix come into the first round? There's a lot of questions around the quarterbacks.
For sure. I want to see how many Canadians are going. There were a record 5 that went last night. By the way, go to rodpedersen.com right now. I think the third story from the top is it's a guide to the Canadians going in the NFL draft, whether it be probably not tonight, but throughout the weekend if you're into that. Our Alberta friends have perked up, and I want to read their messages. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, that's too bad, Rod, that we're not coming to Calgary. You didn't come down to see us anyways, Jeff, the Stamps fan, so what's the matter to you? Grey Eagle, I say that somewhat facetiously. Grey Eagle, Ace Casino Airport, Century Downs, we love all those places. Ted in Red Deer says, I'll bet that did feel good, Rod. Like, really good. Good for you. It felt awesome. David Kilpatrick is my immigration lawyer. Rod, you don't ever have to leave the U.S. if you don't want to. Jack in Vulcan, Alberta writes in and says, it's going to be great to see you guys this summer. That's the thing. We are coming. I got great friends. Serena's got tremendous friends in Calgary and area. So, yeah, we're coming. You guys are reading my mind. The audience, Moose, with what's the next. Well, no, it's not the next. Point 3 is Jays. Alec Marsh and 4 relievers combined for a 6-hitter as the Kansas City Royals beat the Toronto Blue Jays 3-2 last night. Salvador Perez each had 2 hits and an RBI. For Kansas City, which bounced back from a loss in the series opener on Monday to win 2 straight, Jays starter Yariel Rodriguez gave up 3 runs on 6 hits in 4 innings. The series closes this afternoon with a matinee in KC. They're reading my mind because point 4 is this. The Canadian Football League indefinitely suspended veteran defensive lineman Sean Lemon on Wednesday for betting on league games, including one the league says he played in. The CFL said an investigation showed Lemon bet on games in 2021 while with the Calgary Stampeders. The league added there was no evidence to indicate games were impacted by his wagering. It also said no Calgary coaches, teammates, or team personnel were aware of Lemon's actions. Lemon, a 3-time Grey Cup champion, retired April 10th to cap a career in Canada that spanned 13 seasons. His decision to retire came roughly 4 months after he signed a 1-year extension with Montreal. I haven't talked to the Lemonator. I'm just going to say we're great friends. He did 2 stints in Saskatchewan when I was there with the team, and I love the guy. But when you break the rules, you break the rules. I can't stand by the guy, right? Now everybody's putting 2 and 2 together and saying, oh, that's why he retired. Yeah, probably. I feel terrible about it for him. I don't feel we are at the point yet, Darren, where it's time to have the conversation. All of us. I don't know if the teams are sitting the players down at the start of the season. I'm sure they get a handbook on what you can and can't do, but I don't know. I'm not in the locker rooms, and I'm not affiliated with the teams like I used to be. But you see this. The fans are tarring and feathering the leagues. Right? How do you accept billions in gambling revenue, ad revenue, but then you turn around and find the player? Kick the players out of the league? Yeah, we do. Now, the only problem I would have as an addiction recovery coach that I am, and a survivor of addiction, overcomer of addiction, if you will, is this. If these guys have a gambling problem, I'd hate to see somebody's career end because of that. But it happens all the time. Do you know what I mean? The league doesn't care if you have the disease of addiction. The league's going to take its side. The statement from Commissioner Randy Ambrosi is that the integrity of the league is paramount. I'm paraphrasing. We don't care basically what this player did. It's going to bar him from the Hall of Fame. I'll say this about Jonte Porter with the Raptors and now Sean Lemon. Was it really worth it? Was it worth it? We got to have the discussion one day, Darren. Maybe the time's now. What do you think?
Well, this isn't new. I think that's important. We've known for a long time, if you're an athlete, you shouldn't be gambling. The rules are haven't been maybe as black and white, but Pete Rose hasn't come onto our radar just in the last 18 months. That's a long story about gambling that players need to be very delicate about it. You just can't do it. And the story about, I seen that too on social media. And one of the instances was every photo of Sean Lemon that's been posted in connection with this story has a betting logo somewhere on his jersey. And the league's okay to take the money, but can't let the players do that. Well, there's a lot of instances that are exactly the same thing. I see a lot of McDonald's, Wendy's, Dairy Queen, A&W commercials when I watch the CFL. Players can't be crushing Baconators either in their spare time, or they wouldn't be professional athletes. We love to go to the lake on weekends in the summer. A CFL player can't spend every Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the lake all summer. You're a pro athlete. There are just things you can't do that everybody else is going to be able to do. That's what you sign up for. When you want something to be a pro athlete, you have to give up something. All the luxuries are certain things that us regular people get to do. That's the trade-off. And we know it's black and white. You bet, you're out.
I think it's well said. And there are a lot of people here weighing in with opinions. It's interesting how it affects a cross-section of leagues, man. It's so big, and I get that the fans want to talk about it. Arlen Bruce's kid had his contract nullified by the CFL before he even played a game because of gambling violations in college. They want no part of it. I can't argue with them. I don't like it. I can't. It's their league, you know. Jack in Vulcan, Alberta says, who, by the way, works with the Stampeders, he says, I will stand with Sean through thick and thin, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's those among you with no sin cast the first stone. Abso-flippin'-lutely. I can't argue with that. I mean, but we can't argue with the fact that he broke a rule and he's probably going to be kicked out. He's for life. Do they need to say it? He's retired. He's not coming back. It's far worse, really, for Jonte Porter of the Raptors. He's just a kid. Yeah. He kicked out for life. Again, hope it was worth it.
That's the tough part in all of this when it comes to Sean Lemon, because we love Sean. And to me, this doesn't affect Sean's legacy as a person or as a player, to me, at all. You know, he made a mistake, and the mistake is he's going to pay from it. And you're right, not be allowed. He'll be out of the Hall of Fame. He won't be allowed back in the league. This is going to stick with him forever. Yeah. But it was a mistake that he made, and that doesn't change anything on that front. But it is tough. You know, there are people that work, whether it's connected to stock exchanges, the SEC, whatever, that can't trade on the stock market because they have inside information. You just got to know the rules, and you got to play by the rules.
No, and on the flip side, we're going to break and bring in Glen Howard next. But you see Reggie Bush got reinstated as the, 2013 Heisman Trophy winner, and it was stripped because of violations and blah, blah. Now he got it back over a decade later. It's just... that hockey coach I was talking to last night, he didn't say it on the phone this time, but in one of our conversations is eventually, maybe decades later, they do make it right when things change. By then, what's the collateral damage? And that's a whole other thing. But with Sean Lemon, he's got a Hall of Fame career. He's not getting into the Hall of Fame now. So if you want to know how that affects your legacy, that's how. See you in hour 2, Moose, because we got games to look at tonight.
Awesome.
Glen Howard in the news. The curling great joins us next. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The race for the Cantera Seeds Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour.
You're as cold as ice.
May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump right into his bio now because we only have 2 hours. From Wikipedia, Glen Howard is a retired Canadian curler who is one of the most decorated curlers of all time. He's won 4 World Championships, 4 Briers, 17 Ontario Provincial Championships, including a record 8 straight. He's made 20 Brier appearances, playing in a total of 227 games. And we can bring him on the screen, guys, if you don't mind. I want to read this quote from the news this week. Hi, Glenn. From Canadian Press. Four-time world men's champion Glen Howard announced his retirement this week. He's battled knee problems in recent years, ending a career that lasted over 40 years. Former teammate Brent Lang said, quote, from Barrie, Ontario, Wayne Madaw had a saying that to skip, you've got to hit and stay and draw the 8-foot. I think that Glen Howard is the best ever to do that.
Wow.
Applause from me for the career. Yeah, did you hear that quote, Glenn?
I did not.
You heard that?
I'll have to send the check in the mail for Brent for sure. That's really kind of him. He's, as you know, he's been one of my best teammates I've ever had in my career, among so many others. And I really appreciate the comment from my buddy.
I'll tell you something. Between you and Jennifer Jones, couple of greats riding off into the sunset. I'm sure a lot of people have made that connection. But let's just talk about you for a second. Was this tough to announce or not so tough to announce?
You know, Rod, I knew the time was coming soon. The body's getting a little bit beaten up. The hard part for me right now is my mind wants to play. I still want to be out there. I feel I should be out there. I love being on the ice. I love competing. I love playing with my son. I just want to be out there. My body's telling me otherwise. So it wasn't really the way I wanted to go, out in the greener pasture sort of thing. But it is what it is. I'm at peace with it now. I understand. Who knows? Maybe my knee's going to be better in September. But I hate to wait till then. Come September, try and throw a rock. Say, hey guys, I can't curl. And that happened to me almost this year. So I just don't want that to happen. And the knee's getting worse and worse by the minute. And it's time. And it is, but it's bittersweet, to be honest with you.
You're like all the greats. That's what made you great. But you mentioned being out there. Does coaching not scratch that itch because you're out there, or is it not the same?
It's not quite the same, but it's close, Rod. It's much better than not being out there at all. I've been able. I coached Steve Muirhead for 3 years, from 16 to 18, and then I coached Jennifer Jones, 2 of the greatest curlers I'll ever live, and I've been blessed to have them with Jen the last 2 years, and it's awesome to still be out there. And at this point, I was still competing, but if that's what's going to happen in the future, I'd love to keep coaching. I'd love to keep my hand in it. It just keeps me in the game, keeps me current. Again, to the point, I'm still out there, albeit I'm not on the ice. I'm sitting behind the sheet, which is still fantastic. I love the game. I love the sport. I love everybody about the game. All the athletes are amazing. I want to still keep my hand in it, and I think that's the best way at this point.
Well, how many have asked you about television?
I've had a few. I've never ever had any formal offers. I've done a little bit of broadcasting, locally, a little bit with Sportsnet, but very, very little. Nothing on the national stage. I guess that's something I could consider in the future. It's not really right there with me right now. But again, I've never been offered, so maybe that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I guess what I meant was how many people asked you if you're going to go into television is what I meant. Yeah, not how many offers you've had. But, I was thinking about this the other day with LeBron James' kid coming up, Bronny, and he wants to play with his son. You got Gordy, Mark, and Marty Howe. To be in that group's pretty cool. That's another thing that's a feather in your cap that not too many guys get to do at a really high level that you've done.
Well, and you nailed it, Rod. Like when about 8 years ago, I had the worst day of my life. I had to call up my best buddy Craig Saville, and say, Craiger, I'm not going to be curling with you next year. I want to bring my son on. I know it's the end of the line. I want to finish my career with my son playing with me. And honest to God, I thought a couple years. It was 8 years ago. And I've been blessed to be able to, and for the last 8 years, absolutely incredible. And to your point, who can say they were able to play with their son or their daughter, whatever, at the highest level? Like, we're not playing for toasters. We're out there playing, in the big leagues, all the big spiels throughout the world, the country, playing it. We played in a couple of Briars together. Like, it's the best thing, and it's kept me going. Scott, when he joined up with me, kind of lit another fire under my butt. Said, "You know what? I'm not going to let my kid down. I'm going to work at this and still make some shots." And we did remarkably well. Really, for 8 years, we did quite well. Were we the best team in the world? No. Could we beat them? Yes. And that's it was super fun. And that's going to be tough as well. But he's ready to move on. He's just announced a new team. He's going to be skipping, and I believe that's the position he should be playing. And I'll just go back and maybe coach him a little bit and see how he does.
But, yeah, I was going to say, if you coached, it would be them, I would assume, or is that too much of an assumption?
There's a chance of another opportunity I've got in the works, so there I might be a dual thing. Scott and the boys, because of work and everything in life, they can only curl so much, and I probably could do a dual duty, one with maybe a permanent team that does a little bit more, and then dabble with Scott as well. And the fact that I'm not curling will make it that much easier.
I mentioned the 20 Briar appearances. We had Ben Hebert on just last week to talk about the huge shakeup that he's in the middle of. And I said, this last Regina Briar, I watched it all because I'm friends with Catlin Schneider, Matt Dunstone, that whole gang that came through Saskatchewan, all representing other teams. I said, was this the best Briar ever? He said, for him, it was. And of your 20, Scott made some clutch shots too, man. Like, whether it was the best or not, it had to be up there, Glenn.
100%. Like, obviously, I would love to have been able to play. I played all year, and then it just got to the point where I couldn't play, and the boys went on to provincials, and I gave them a 11th hour decision that I wasn't going to be able to play provincials, and they went on. Scott took the helm, skipped 3 players, won a provincial, go to the Briar. And, we break up Matty Cam, which was awesome. And then I put the coach's hat on, and just to see the boys who out there loving what I love to do, performing at a high level. Scotty owned the position. He could tell he enjoyed playing skip. It didn't faze him. He wasn't upset. He wasn't nervous. I was really impressed with all of them, how they stepped up, because they're all playing in positions they weren't used to, which was really cool. And then obviously Scott played third for me, and now he's skipping, and it didn't faze him at all. I was so impressed with him, and Davey and Tim and Matt stepped up as well. And to your point, it was one of my favorites as well. Just from that perspective, I could sit and watch my guys and my son perform at the highest level at the biggest stage in the curling world.
It sure looked awesome from where I was sitting here in Florida, but we got it all. We won't tell you how. Hey, I just got to say, curling seems to be in great shape as you leave it. New CEO and Nolan Thiessen. Although the Grand Slam's been bought and John Morris is in that ownership group. So there's the only thing constant in life's change, as you know, Glenn. How do you feel about the state of curling here as you ride off into the sunset?
I think, to your point, Rod, I think it is in a great place. The talent is the best. Well, this is the best I've ever seen it in my entire curling career, and I've been around a long time. The parity across the world, unbelievable. The Asian countries, the European countries, they just have so much talent now. I love that. I just think and I think the Canadians do as well. It lights a fire under our butts. We got a long way to go to keep up. To be honest with you, it's amazing. And I love the fact that other countries are as good or better than us. And that just makes the product phenomenal to watch, to play, and to be a part of. And so I that's why I kind of want to stay in the game. Other than I love, it's to me the best sport in the world. I want to be a part of it, but to keep watching up close the transformation of curling and where it's going is awesome. And again, the talent, the men and women it's just unbelievable. And I just love to see that. My biggest fear though, Rod, is a lot of great talent not sticking with the game. That's a problem we have. There's a lot of young, talented kids. And use the word kids because I'm old. That are packing it in, and for whatever life gets in the way, school, job, family, whatever the case may be, and that worries me. We've got to somehow keep this talent in our sport, and I'm not sure what the answer is, but that's my biggest fear. But at this point, it's in a great place.
Well, sounds like a great task for you to help find the answer to that.
Yes, sir.
And the roles of ambassador or consultant are really great jobs. Glenn, I just want to say it's been so fun to watch you over the years. Congratulations on that tremendous career and all the best. Hopefully we can do this again.
Rod, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on anytime. I'd love to, if you want to talk curling 24/7, buddy. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Here's your TV job. Here's the job. Glen Howard, our TV analyst. Glen Howard joining us. Hall of Famer, man, announcing his retirement. 4 world championships. We'll be right back with a sports update right after this. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
One of hip-hop's finest, Ice Cube.
You better check yourself or you wreck yourself, 'cause I'm back.
Straight into Canada tour. April 28th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Among the most influential rappers of all time, Ice Cube. On sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, we're back, everybody. This is going to be a brief, fast show today, huh? And I'm interested in the way you think. First of all, from the text line, 902-518-3033, we got a new viewer, Sean, who I love his honesty. He's in Edmonton. Said he fell asleep watching pickleball at night here on Game Plus. Woke up the next day, and we were on. Surprise! His nickname's Bench. And he writes in and he says, "Good morning, all. My Oilers defense is driving me nuts. We don't have a Vezina goalie. Be a little more stay at home, please. 9 goals against in 12 games has me worried, but it's not all bad. Holloway pleased the city, and the Leafs lost." That's from Bench in Edmonton. Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in and he says, "I am the same. I took Dallas in my bracket. I knew I shouldn't have, but I still did. Now I'm kicking myself." Right? That's a big group of us. He says, "I don't think the Leafs are crapping in their skates. Boston's a good team, and these games are going down to the wire. If Leafs were crapping the bed and playing so bad, I would think the scores would be worse than 3-2. This series will go 7, and either team can win it. Sure hope the Vikes get a franchise quarterback tonight." Thank you, Brian, for the addendum. If that's it, I'm asking what you are watching the NFL draft for tonight, round 1. There's a lot of things to watch for. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue tonight with a pair of games. The Florida Panthers aim to take a 3-0 lead against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I got the towel up only because I got it. I'm literally not cheering for either team in this series. That's a fact, Jack. The Carolina Hurricanes seek the same advantage against the Islanders in their Eastern Conference series. All 4 Canadian teams have the night off. The Leafs trail 2-1 to Boston. We've discussed it all day. Game 4 Saturday. Meanwhile, the Jets, Oilers, Canucks, each with a win and a loss, will resume their Western Series on Friday. NBA, Tyler Herro had 24 points and 14 assists, hitting 6 of Miami's franchise playoff record, 23 three-pointers, to lead the Heat to a 111-101 upset victory over the Boston Celtics on Wednesday night and tie their first-round playoff series at a game each. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 33 points, and Oak City beat New Orleans 124-92 to go up 2-0. Sports updates for Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And for Landmark Cinemas, coming to Landmark Cinemas April 3rd, The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. From real-life stuntman and director David Leitch, the blockbuster director of Bullet Train, Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde, and Fast and Furious, comes his most personal film yet. A new hilarious, hard-driving all-star thriller and a love letter, too. The Fall Guy in Landmark Cinemas on May the 3rd. Okay, smoke him if you got him. Visit the washroom. Coming back for a very entertaining hour, too. And Canada's foremost NFL insider, Jim Lang, will be with us. Be right back on Game Plus TV and Key Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The race for the Cantera Seed Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I whined for 20 years or more about Kelly McCrimmon and his tactics because we couldn't beat him. And I would sit there and go up into the commissioner right in his face. Why are you letting him do this? And he'd just stare at me. And I would whine to everybody about what Kelly was doing. Nobody cared. So all I'm saying is, because I've been there, shut up about it. Because it's not going to stop.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. Welcome, everybody, to the RP Show. It's hour 2, episode number 1,230. That's pretty exciting, but wait till we get to episode number 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's coming up next week. I'm here in the South Florida studio. Very big day in Florida, NHL-wise. I feel like we're the only ones in the state of Florida talking NHL hockey, and that's not only fine, it's awesome. Moose is in Saskatchewan, where he's getting ready to host the U of R Rams fundraising banquet tonight, along with new head coach of the Riders, Corey Mason, new offensive coordinator, Mark Mueller. And Darren, I feel like I'm having a lot of fun today. I hope you are too. I hope you've been watching this show, and I hope you said hi to your folks for me. What did your mom make for supper last night out there in the chicken capital? Did you guys have chicken?
Chicken was an option. We actually had pork last night, barbecued up, potatoes, all the, asparagus, carrots. It was great. Yeah, it was awesome. So it was a nice day. We fired up the barbecue, but chicken was definitely an option.
This is just like yesterday. Your connection isn't as good now as it was in hour 1. So if there's anything you can do, do it. I will say this. The Leafs lost 4-2 to the Boston Bruins last night in Game 3. I've got an argument with a Leafs fan on the go that I'm not even going to name him. I did watch the game. I was going back and forth between that game and the Celtics and Heat, but I watched enough of it to know that Brad Marchand is in the kitchen of the Toronto Maple Leafs. This guy, not going to name him, and it's not you or Clark, somebody else, another Leaf fan who wants to fight. And I'm just going to tell you, I'm not getting into the fight. I almost feel like Leafs fans are in a state of shock after losing last night. They still don't have William Nylander available in the series. And I will quote from their head coach, Sheldon Keefe, after the game. I feel like here we can get into things because we go so fast in hour one. We can get into it a little more deeply. Regarding Brad Marchand, two goals last night, including an empty netter, but the game winner too. He says the gamesmanship and everything, it's world class. He's been in the league long enough. He gets calls. It's unbelievable, actually, how it goes. We've got to play through that, unquote. Sheldon Keefe, a guy who I firmly believe should be fired if the Leafs don't win this series. I believe that. Whiner there? Or, is he whining? Telling the truth? What? What do you think?
Well, the coaches are always trying to get an edge. And if something he says can help the Leafs get a call, then he's going to try and do it. To me, I don't like it. It comes off, I'm with you, that he doesn't last into next season if they don't get out of the first round and show some more growth. But I don't like it. It does come off as whining to me. Internally, I think you can say this guy is in our kitchen, but I think he's trying to, make this aware to the officials and see if he can't get a call down the road.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for the discussion with you. You and I can have mature conversations with others, not this Leaf fan anyways. BW watching in Edmonton wants to know if you are using the Rogers cellular network. What's your phone? It's not, right? No. But it's not a real strong network, as I recall.
It's it's SaskTel, I believe, like all of Saskatchewan is. So for the most part, rurally or access, one of those two. But Winyard's not a top priority on the internet installation depth chart. Let's put it that way.
Well, if there's something you can do to make it better, please do it. Otherwise, we'll get through. We'll get through. David number 1 in Winnipeg writes in. He says, Marshy is living rent-free in Sheldon Keefe's head. I don't think there's any doubt, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it's my age or if ADD gets worse. It might, I'm not sure. But now's the time that I'm following the coverage and the stats and the news conferences like I used to follow the whole regular season, Darren. I would go and click and watch on the internet the coaches' news conferences. I'd be checking the plus minus, the power play stats. I haven't done that for a few years now, but I'm doing it in the playoffs. And I just find it very interesting what the coaches are saying after these games. Like Sheldon Keefe, you're saying there was gamesmanship from him, what he was saying about Marchand, and maybe he'll get a call down the line. That's very John Cooper-esque. I feel like Sheldon Keefe is so stressed as the coach of the Leafs. He doesn't have time. This is right after the game, man. He's not playing 4D chess like Paul Maurice is down here or John Cooper. I think he was whining. That's what I think. Anything to that?
I don't know if you're really down. I've been watching Sheldon Keefe for a while. He's not exactly, well, I wouldn't compare him to John Cooper. Let's put him that way.
I get you. There was a few other things that I wanted to get to today. Allie in Texarkana writes in, she says, I have to give Leafs fans credit for keeping the faith better than me at this point. She's coming undone that her Dallas Stars are down 0-2. It's really weird the way Leafs fans are taking this. It's odd to me, like almost in stride. And I'll say it again. I had the Leafs to win this series, but having Marchand come in there and absolutely own them last night, as far as I'm concerned, well, he did. I don't need to be backed up on that. And they're not even acknowledging that. And the coach is coming unglued. because I did see the clip. I don't think that's a good. I don't think that's a good sign. By the way, the poll question here today is which 2-0 Stanley Cup playoff series will go the longest? And I'll be honest with you, the results of our poll are surprising to me. They're not what I voted for, nor what I would have expected. All these series are 2-0. Vegas up on Dallas 2-0. Rangers. Oh, I typed that wrong. Rangers Caps. I got to go in and retype that. But you get the point. Dallas, Vegas, Rangers Caps, Panthers Lightning, Carolina Islanders. They are saying the Florida-Tampa series will go the longest, 49%. Next, the Dallas-Vegas series, 37%. And the other two, they're going to be short series. Everybody feels that way. But they're saying the Battle of Florida is going to be longer than the Battle of the Western Sun Belt, if I may. Dallas-Vegas. That surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, a bit. I guess the games in Florida have been a little closer, maybe, than the games between Vegas and Dallas. They're not going to be sweeps. I just don't see it. They're both going to be good games. And, in Swift Current, who likes to post videos in the imitation, Ernie, he had another video on Snapchat this morning, and he said there's 2 L's in Dallas. There's 2 L's in Dallas. There was going to be 2, and that's it. So they're done. So he thinks they're going to rebound, and that series is going to go a lot longer than 4 games.
I will tell anybody that by 2 p.m. Eastern, noon SAS time, our Cats and Bolts podcast is going to drop with Serena and I. And we're talking almost exclusively about the Battle of Florida, by the way. If anybody's tuned in from Florida wanting coverage on that, we're airing on national television, hence why we're spending far more time on the Toronto Maple Leafs, okay? Not just a pretty face here. I know what I'm doing. But it's funny to hear you talk about Big Ern, the Stars fan, because Serena brought up in the show yesterday, she's like, when you were in your Stars phase, I'm like, my Stars phase lasted 26 years when my dad worked for them for a quarter century. Stars phase. But I don't cheer for them anymore. I don't know anybody with the organization. I don't care about them. And I live here. So with regards to long series, I don't want the Florida-Tampa series to go long. If Florida's going to win this thing, then win it in 4. Because I don't really want to be traipsing back and forth across the state, which is what we're going to be doing for Game 4 on Saturday. But if one thing, just to tee up that podcast, which airs at 2 p.m. Eastern, Tampa has more power plays than Florida in this series. I did all the math. Tampa's 2 for 8 in the series. The Panthers are 2 for 7. Florida's outshot them 65-42 through the 2 games. And it's 2 one-goal games. Like, I guess I can kind of see why people are thinking this is going to go longer because it's been 1-goal games. You know what I mean? But of the 2, those are games that I've been at in person. I just see this Dallas-Vegas thing going probably the limit unless the Stars are done. What the hell? That makes no sense.
Not to me, it doesn't. No. I thought that would be a lot different, especially early on. And I think if Dallas is going to get back into the series, they need Jake Ottinger to become kind of start the Conn Smythe run. He needs to be at an MVP level. And he can get there.
Sorry, you're popping in and out. 1:11 Eastern, by the way. Terry in Calgary has written in, Terry the lawyer, and also BW in Edmonton, both informing us that Bob Cole has passed away at age 90. That's a literal stop the presses moment. And it's quite interesting that during this show over the years, some big names have passed away while we're on the air. The Queen comes to mind. And I don't mind drawing the connection that Bob Cole's royalty in the broadcast booth. Serena and I were just talking about this the other day. Legendary Harry Neal and Bob Cole lines. You as a Leaf fan, that must get you right in the grave. Me as a broadcaster, doesn't make me feel real good to hear Bob Cole's past. I never met the man. What I've heard is he's quirky, was quirky. Bob Cole. He's the best. Like, it's like, to me, now that I think about it, you talk about great hockey play-by-play guys, and that comes up all the time. Bob Cole's here. And then everybody. And then we start talking about everybody else. Fair?
For me, and it's very subjective, everybody's got a different opinion, but it's Bob Cole, a large gap, and then I don't even tell you who's number two, because there is only one, and it's Bob Cole. And I need more time to process it. You're right. This one hits you right in the gut, man. We weren't going to hear him call games anymore. This was coming, but hey, Bob Cole, probably one of the biggest reasons that I love the game of hockey. He makes you fall in love with it. That's what a good broadcaster does.
Sets the scene, which, by the way, I'll get to people's comments here probably after the break. There's a million coming in, including Ben's daddy in Edmonton, who just found us. He just found us. He's got a million questions. There's a queue, buddy. Lots of people were in here before, like Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in. He says, I'm curious to see how the last change will impact tonight's game in Tampa. Tampa's turn to get the matchups they want. It was key for Florida in the first two games. Carlos in Indianapolis says there's the rivalry factor for the Florida series, right? I'm not a hockey guy, so I don't know about the others. There's a rivalry factor, but listen, people in Florida don't get up in the morning thinking about how much they hate the other team, like what happens in Alberta. But I did see this in the news, a newspaper, Darren. Actually, the newspaper is a thing that's made of paper, and it has the news in it. For you youngsters that don't know, I was reading in there, they said that the Panthers Lightning is Florida's best rivalry of all sports. And I'm like, well, that's something to hang your hat on. Would you agree with that, Brent in Florida? That's saying a lot, but it's not saying a lot. You know what I mean? Like, the Buccaneers and Dolphins don't even play in the same conference, so nor do the Rays and the Marlins. They're not even in the same leagues. So the Panthers and Lightning are the biggest rivalry in Florida, but it's still not that big. There's no hate down here. Darren, you were here for a week. You said there's no hate. Everybody's in a good mood. Right? Bruh? There's a lot of that.
Yeah. We're starting to see something through in that series. And being so good the last number of years, getting to the Cup last year, that's what creates watchability. I think about it with this Leafs series, how it's at or near the top on that scores article of watchability, interest, ratings. You know, the more we see people in markets like Edmonton and Vancouver and Calgary and, you know, outside of Toronto, hating the Leafs, you know, jabbing at them and all that, and wanting to see them lose, that creates watchability, because then the Leaf fans want to prove them wrong, and it just builds interest and hype.
One of my favorite things is how overstated Leafs fans think the rest of the country hates them. We don't. We wish you'd win a Stanley Cup, so you'd shut up. And I think it's hilarious that Joe Bowen, the voice of the Leafs last night, calls out the home fans for not being loud enough in a playoff game like that. Nobody, from what I can see, is arguing with them or really cares. They're like, you're right. Doesn't make. But Cowboys fans, again, I continue to compare the two fan bases because we're the same. It's not a loud stadium in Dallas. I've been there. It's not known for being a hostile place to go into, which reminds me, if you go back to that NHL Players Association poll, they said the number one rink for hostility, the toughest rink to go into and win, is Vegas. And that's where Dallas has to go in, down 0-2. Like, literally nobody saw this coming. And then the number two rink is PNC Center in Raleigh. They were talking about that on the radio this morning on NHL radio about what a hornet's nest it is. Two franchises that aren't even really that old. Vegas 7 seasons, and Carolina's been there since, 96. Two toughest rings to play in. Figure that one out. And Toronto ain't. We'll be right back. Jim Lang's on the way. We are live on the Game Plus television network. Fix your internet if you can, Moose. WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The race for the Cantera Seeds Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, the fun and frivolity continues. Episode number 1230 of the RP Show. And yes, we got Jim Lang in this segment. Let's bring him in, Canada's foremost NFL expert. Round one of the NFL draft tonight, but also the author of many best-selling books, a Leafs aficionado, if you will. Yeah, there's the latest. Jimbo, tell us about My Day with the Cup.
Yeah, My Day with the Cup, hi Rod, comes out May 7th. 30 players and coaches Sidney Crosby, John Cooper, Mike Modano, Larry Robinson, at all points in between, talking about what they did when they had their day with the Stanley Cup and how personal it was, from Darcy Kemper in Saskatoon to players all over North America. John Cooper was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where he has a summer home when he had his day with the Cup. And it was important to him because the first time they won the Cup, because of COVID, no one got their day with the Cup that year, if you remember. So they basically almost had the exact same team except for one player. So when they won the Cup, they also made sure that player who was denied the year before got his day with the Cup. So yeah, it was been a labor of love the last few years putting it together. So it comes out May 7th.
Is that your favorite story of the book?
No, there's so many good ones. Matthew Dandino, who was phenomenal to speak with. He's a great storyteller. It was 98. He won a second Cup with the Red Wings. They had gone to Quebec City, where he has family, and back to Montreal. And it's about 2:33 in the morning. And the keeper of the Cup is tapping his watch and goes, I have to be on the 6 a.m. flight to Buffalo because it's Scotty Bowman's turn with the Cup. And Matthew and his buddies all had too much to drink. And he had one buddy who was DD, but really big, tough-looking guy, 300 pounds, like kind of nasty looking. And Dandino hands him the keys to his Range Rover, said, you take the keeper of the Cup and drive him to the airport. Like, okay. So they're on the highway to the Montreal airport, and the keeper has got the Cup out for a second, polishing it. And the local police pulls him over like, what are you doing driving this car with the Stanley Cup in the back? And he's explaining, and they're like, and then wait the Cup. So they got on the radio. And this is 98 before the cell phone camera. So all the cops in the radio went to the local mini mart to get those little mini throwaway cameras so they could take photos of them posing with the Cup. And the keeper of the Cup's like, guys, I got to go. I got to see Scotty Bowman. And they're like, yeah, here, we'll escort you. Follow us. And they get him to the airport. And he made the flight in time. But there's so many little stories like that, you know, the players, they're human beings, and we forget about it sometimes. And for a lot of them, the reality of being a Stanley Cup champion doesn't hit home to their in their backyard with their family home, and they're seeing their dad crying because they're looking at the name of Gordie Howe or Bobby Orr or Guy Lafleur in the Cup, and you're like, oh. Then they realize what it's all about. Like, I know for Sidney Crosby, he'll admit that every time he's working out and he's sore and he's beat up, he's thinking, I got to have another day with the Cup. I got to do. Like, it really drives them. So it actually, there was a lot of things to these stories, Rod, that I didn't expect I was quite interested in.
That's amazing. May 7th, my day with the Cup, available from Jim Lang. If we have time at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the Leafs being down 2-1. But you know we brought you on to talk about football. And the hype has been driving me crazy for months. It's been driving me nuts. I couldn't, because I don't care about everybody's mock draft. But here we are. Now I'm excited. What are you looking for tonight in round one?
To be honest with you, I've been so focused on hockey books right now. I've been trying to tune out the mock drafts because it's a lot of misinformation, disinformation. Yeah. And the other day on the Pat McAfee show, Bill Belichick was on and gave some very good information. He said the mocks are complete bogus because nobody knows what's really happening in the respective they call them the draft war rooms. So whether you're the Vikings or the Chargers or the Patriots or whatever team's on the board, you don't know what they have rated or who they have rated as the player they want the most. And it could be a positional need. It could be a player that knocked their socks off in their private workout and in their private meetings. And that's the one thing that we put so much into the combine, Rod, that these teams will bring in Darren Dupont or Rod Pedersen into the facility for a private workout and a private meeting, separate, because it's such a big decision that they're making. The only sure thing is you're probably going to get quarterbacks go 1-2, unless someone knocks the Chicago Bears socks off with a trade they simply can't refuse. I don't see the Bears not taking a quarterback with the first pick. And so there will be jockeying for teams trading up and down. There are a couple teams with multiple picks in the first round, but it's such an inexact science. And Bill Belichick, and like he said it, and so many coaches say it, unless you are a sure thing, a lot of teams, it takes a couple of years till you can give a proper grade to the draft. Every team trying to draft a quarterback wants to get a C.J. Stroud repeat of what the Houston Texans did last year because he had such an immediate impact with the team. But I think Arizona, probably Marvin Harrison Jr. at receiver, will fall in their lap, and he will have an immediate impact with the team because the learning curve for a rookie receiver as opposed to a rookie quarterback in the NFL, well, it's not as steep. There's less to know, less to learn, less responsibility, less pressure. And the adaptability going from Ohio State to the NFL, it's probably going to be a lot easier for Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think Arizona, if he falls in their laps, they're going to be very, very happy, Rod.
Well, it's quite interesting that you see it the exact same way as me, because I've been saying it on this show, I don't care about the mock drafts, but you and I aren't going to stop the wheel that is the frothing madness about NFL media in America, right? Like I heard on NFL radio, they were talking about the term smoke screen. I didn't see the Belichick interview or even hear about it, but I'm like, yeah, they'll do that. It used to be they would get you on the phone and lie up and down about what they're going to do, hoping you put that out there and get that out there. So now this is the way they're doing it now, huh?
Well, yes, and there's that, and then there's also the agents. They have, let's face it, the agents have an ulterior motive to getting information about their player. Because if I can get my client picked from 20th to the top 10, that's a big difference in money. And all of a sudden, not for the player, but for the agent. So if you're floating rumors to all the different NFL insiders that they're going to go on ESPN or CBS Sports or the NFL Network and start saying, hey, I'm hearing that so-and-so, they're really interested in that, and you're pumping up their trade value, and they get picked 5, 6, 7 picks higher, that is the difference of big money. Big money for the player, and definitely big money for the agent who's getting a percentage of that money. So it's in their best interest to feed disinformation or what they hope is going to happen. Ultimately, the agent doesn't know, the media doesn't know. The only people that really know are the men and women in the room, and when they make the phone call, give the information to Roger Goodell tonight. That's the only people that really know what's going to happen.
To be honest, you and I have been in this game a long time. I don't really mind the selling and the pushing of your client and stuff. But when it comes to outright lying, not just at draft time, I got a problem with that. And I think the problem is the fans, they don't understand that that's going on. Like, it's dangerous.
No, it is. And you just alluded to it earlier. It's feeding the 24/7 beast, Rod. It's talk shows, it's content, it's social media. It's ESPN with a 57-person panel talking about a rumor they heard all at the same time. It gets a little out of control. And, and yeah, the first round's important, but, you talk to a lot of veteran player personnel people. It's that if you can get gold in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, that's the difference between a good team and a great team. I mean, everyone's trying to repeat what the Pittsburgh Steelers did in 1974. They got Hall of Fame caliber players in the 3rd round and beyond. And that's if you can get those starting players or even a Pro Bowl caliber player deeper in the draft, later in the draft, then you are way ahead of the game. First of all, the 3rd round players coming in a lot cheaper for his first contract than that 1st round player. And that's the kind of depth that you need. You can't win without some kind of good draft depth. That's the one thing with the National Football League. You need that constant influx of talent building your roster, because otherwise a couple injuries and then you're beat if you don't have it.
Well, you know what? The personnel guys will tell you that the quarterback is what drives the engine, therefore the focus, right? That's why we talk about it so much. But when you look at the 2021 first round, only one of those quarterbacks is starting for his team right now. And that was the number 1 overall pick. Zach Wilson, gone. Trey Lance, gone. Justin Fields, gone. Mac Jones, gone.
Well, and then look what Pittsburgh did. The Steelers did this year. They got Justin Fields and Russell Wilson on expiring contracts. They didn't pick up the option for a reason on Justin Fields. They're basically telling him, one of you are going to emerge as a starter and be a star and earn the right to a long-term contract. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. There's no reason for the Steelers to give either one of those quarterbacks a long-term big money deal until they've proven it. The Steelers are a bit of a crossroads here, and especially for Mike Tomlin, who's, although winning, it's been a while since he won a playoff game. And Steelers Nation are like, wait a second, it's time to win some playoff games, because they're not judged by making the playoffs in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, you're right about the quarterback, and that's why the draft is such an inexact science. You think you have the right quarterback. Then they get into a group of men who are trying to feed their family. And it's not always a safe space in an NFL locker room or on the NFL field. How do they handle it? Can they handle it mentally, emotionally? Are they leaders? Can they handle ups and downs? Can they get knocked down, get up, and not blame others and not, say stupid things in the media or on social media? Can they be seen as the first person in the building, last person to leave? Because that gets noticed by the coaches, but more importantly, by your teammates. If you're showing up to the facility and the star quarterback in the first round is coming in after you, that gets around the locker room pretty quick. So, by all accounts, what happened with the Houston Texans is you had C.J. Stroud come in as humble and low-key as possible, and every time they came to the facility, there was CJ's vehicle. They're like, okay. And that means a lot of veteran, experienced players put a lot of faith into him because they realize that he's putting in the work and doing the things to be necessary to be a leader. You don't know that on draft day. You only know that come training camp and come the regular season, what kind of players you're going to be. And that's just where it's a gamble, right? It's a big gamble.
The real good scouts and GMs, what I would have hoped have done their homework and know that ahead of time, but you never know. And, Tom Brady, Brock Purdy are two guys, all you need to know about the value of late-round picks. Listen, I have to because you're the Leaf guy, and we're on Game Plus television out of Toronto. So, are you like most Leaf fans I've heard today that aren't that wound up about the loss last night, or where are you on this series being down 2-1 to Boston?
Well, this is where I'm at, Rod. I go back to what you said earlier about Joe Bowen's comments, both on the air and social media, about the fans. It is incredibly expensive to go to a Leafs game. I've been to one game this year, and that was tickets for as payment for a job I did, because otherwise we couldn't afford to go. And the last 10 playoff games, they've scored more than 2 goals one time. With all that money up front, with all that talent, with $30 million in your top 3 forwards, you have scored more than 2 goals one time in the playoffs, and you've lost the last 5 home playoff games. Okay, so give the fans something to cheer about. How about scoring 3, 4, or 5 goals and seeing that all that firepower that just runs roughshod through the season on display in the postseason? How about shutting up Brad Marchand and not letting him do what he wants out there in the ice? Give the fans something to cheer about. Don't let in a soft goal short side if you're Ilya Samsonov. I mean, what's been bothering me the most this series and the 2 losses is the Leafs score and the Bruins score 60 seconds later. The fans have barely stopped clapping for your goal and Bruins score and reply and respond to it. So it's up to Sheldon Keefe, who's got last change Saturday night for Game 4. But if you're Mitch Marner and you're Austin Matthews and you're the big boys making the big money, you're not paid for January. You're paid for late April. Games like this. This is where you're going to earn your money. Look what Anze Kopitar did last night. That overtime goal in such a hostile environment. Look what Jack Eichel's doing with the Vegas Golden Knights. He made a backhand pass on a goal of Marchessault through the goalie, through the defenseman legs on Marchessault's sticks. How about something like that? And get the fans engaged, get that building rocking, score more than 2 goals in the game. I know what a concept, and make it a no-doubter. So you have some momentum going into Game 5 in Boston. That's the biggest challenge for the Leafs on Saturday night is to play their game and not worry about Boston and take control of that game and not let Boston keep coming back into it.
I couldn't agree more. And those lapses, that's all mental stuff, man. Jim, this has been great. Enjoy the NFL draft tonight. I know you'll be watching, and hopefully we can do it again here this spring.
Can I just say a quick word about Bob Cole? A great curler who represented Newfoundland in the Brier in the 70s a couple times. For my youngest memory of hockey, it was him, the famous, they're going home with the Soviets and the Philadelphia Flyers. I had the opportunity to meet Bob Cole. They're going home. I met him a number of times and had interactions with him. He was nothing but a complete gentleman to me. He always called me Jimmy. Jimmy boy, how you doing? With his Newfoundland accent. And for Leafs Nation here, for people in Southern Ontario, between 1987 and 2007, Bob Cole and Harry Neal were hockey. They were the voice of hockey, and the Olympics and Joe Sakic and all those big moments and all those Stanley Cups and his voice with Steve Yzerman winning, and then the passing the Stanley Cup to Ray Bourque in 2001. All those moments, Bob Cole was the soundtrack to it, and so he's going to be sorely missed.
Yeah, he is the best, absolutely. Thank you, Jim, for saying that. Have a great day.
Go Leafs, go.
Best-selling author, best guy, Jim Clubber Lang. Follow him on Twitter at Jim Lang Sports. The Moose will rejoin us. We have our breakaway picks to get to, sports update, viewer takeover. Still a lot of great stuff to come on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
One of hip-hop's finest, Ice Cube.
You better check yourself or you wreck yourself, 'cause I'm bad.
Straight into Canada tour. April 28th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Among the most influential rappers of all time, Ice Cube. On sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yo, we're back at it, everybody. Hey, before we go any further, just a note from a viewer. Darren in Melfort writes in. We're very big in Melfort on Game Plus TV and SaskTel Max. Darren says, Mustangs double overtime winners over Flin Flon. But it was offside. Hope the hockey gods' eyes were shut on the play. Canalta Cup in the house tonight. We bring the Moose in. Yes, that is the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League final. Could end in a sweep tonight at the Northern Lights Palace, a rink that we know very well, opened in the early 90s, and you could still lead off the floor. Man, they've kept that rink in fantastic condition. I would love to get some of our friends in from across Canada, like Kevin Shooter Surrett, the commissioner of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, as it's Winkler and Steinbach in their league final. I don't know, let's get it. We're only following one league. We need to hear from the others, Moose. Yeah. How are you doing, by the way?
Yeah, I agree. Got to see what's going on in the rest of the country. And no, it wasn't offside. It sucks that the series might only go 4 games. But you know what? That's a big shock. Big shock in the Saskatchewan League. We've been following it very closely, but a fun time of year.
Interesting comment. It's been a real fun show today, a real fast show today. But I said I read in the newspaper that the best rivalry in Florida sports right now is Lightning Panthers. And I was like, that's saying something. Says a lot and doesn't say much. And you know what I mean when I say that. Brent in Wellington, Florida, writes in and he says, I would agree to that. Maybe FSU versus Miami. College football is bigger. But it's like, if you really got to dig, it's Panthers Lightning. Maybe that's, the writer was a prisoner of the moment, because the two teams are playing right now, but I don't know. Regarding the Leafs fandom, Navy Dawn writes in and he says, the Maple Leafs have the loudest bullhorn because TSN and Sportsnet are located there. The rest of the nation gets to hear about them all the time, says Dawn. But, Don, you're a man that's been around the world. I know him very well, Darren. I think you've met him. He's sailed like 5 of the 7 seas as a Navy guy, lived all across Canada. Let me say something about the United States. The networks are largely, ESPN remains headquartered in Bristol, Connecticut, which is near New York's the nearest large. We don't get Yankees, Rangers, Giants, Jets pumped down our throat. We don't. That's one thing where TSN and Sportsnet, for whatever reason, I don't think they got it right. We don't hear in Canada enough about the Canadians, darn sure about the Canucks. It's Leafs, 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 Leafs. And I just think that's lazy. I'm sorry. But I think it's lazy. I think they could talk about all the other sports a hell of a lot more because that is not the case in America. Deal or no deal, especially now, you're living in Toronto, so you probably don't agree at all. You're a Leaf fan. But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I definitely see it. I don't know if the discrepancy is quite the same in terms of population from New York and the state to places like Texas or California, like it maybe is in Ontario versus other parts of the country, and Toronto versus other cities. I think there's a big, catering to the masses issue, where in the United States, you got to cater to LA a lot. You do got to cater to New York, a fair bit, and then places like Dallas and whatnot. But you're right. It's a little more balanced, especially when you have your number one asset in the league sitting in Edmonton. I think there should be a lot more on the Oilers, probably.
Yeah. You make a really good point about the population demographics. I'm not saying that I'm right. It's just what I see. But just consider this for a second. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I still am because I have been since 1991. Why stop now? It's kind of maybe 1990 when I first went away to college, but it's been a lot of heartache and people laughing at you. You know the feeling as a Leafs fan, but it's just Cowboys, 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 Cowboys on ESPN. And I get sick of it. So it's not about New York. It's about the Dallas Cowboys. I don't get it. Interesting. Rob in Vegas writes in and says, you can buy Vegas Golden Knights home playoff tickets for under $100. Again, today not the day to get into it in terms of, but there's a discussion to be had around how pro leagues are slashing ticket prices now. And I'm glad that Robert has pointed that out and others have. Somebody wrote in here earlier wondering if the NHL will follow suit, if the CFL will follow suit. I might have seen it on social media. We see so much. I can go to a Heat game in the playoffs for $50. We looked up the other day. We go to a Panthers game in the playoffs for $53. Canada's a little behind on that, but will they get to that? For sports fans' sakes, I certainly hope so. And I also want to read this comment from Ted in Red Deer. He says, awesome conversation with you and Jim, as it always seems to be with you two. Congrats. Thank you, Ted, for the kind words. Jim's one of my longest friends in this industry, and he's just a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous guy and an outstanding broadcaster who really got railroaded in this industry, but took it with a smile. Moose, when we come back, you'll be gone. I'm not going to keep you for the next segment. We'll get into more Bob Cole. I got his bio here. Bob Cole, passing at the age of 90 today. In typical Bob Cole fashion, in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You wouldn't want to do it in August. And I say this with all the hearty respect. It's perfect that Bob Cole would pass in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs, is it not?
That is. Absolutely. And, you know, in good taste, I think there'll be some people saying, Leafs lost. Bob Cole's like, they're not doing it. I'm checking out. You know, after the game last night.
Well,
it's not happening this year, and I
Leaf,
can't last another year, so I'm out. I'm checking out. Good night. You know, but
I would think, yeah. As a Leaf fan and a Bob Cole fan, I would hope, you know, you're certainly allowed to say that. As a guy who's lost my parents, if somebody said that about mine, I would not be offended. I might think it's funny. But I want to get your picks for the games tonight. I don't want to influence you, but what I will say is I feel very strongly that Tampa Bay will win tonight. I've watched almost all of their games this year and 100% of the Panthers games. And I know the two teams real pretty well. I'm very confident Tampa will win tonight over Florida. And Carolina's at the Islanders. I believe the Canes will win tonight. So my picks are Carolina and Florida. Carolina and Tampa. There's only 2 games. What are yours?
Initially, that's where I was leaning. I think the Isles, after the 2 quick goals, after being up, that Hurricanes scored and then ended up winning that game, I think the Isles are broken. So I'll take Carolina. And just so we can have some fun, I think Florida will go up 3-0. So I'll take the Panthers and the Hurricanes.
Gotcha. All right, Moose. Break a leg tonight. Appreciate you.
Thank you. You bet. Thank you.
Couple comments from the Peanut Gallery before we break. Ryan in New York says, he says, I'm a New York Jets fan, and trust me, even I don't want Jets shoved in my face by ESPN 24/7. LOL. That's what I'm saying. For whatever reason, and Darren makes a great point, the vast, good chunk of the population of the country, it's 18%, I think. I remember I'm bad at math, as you all know, but 18%'s there. So that's why they're talking about the Leafs. Not saying it's right, just what Moose says. It did create a lot of fans of them, like Clark and Darren, but it's made a lot of us not like them, like me. From Bench in Edmonton, he says, yep, Cowboys fan since 1992, and I know what it's like to be laughed at. That Cowboys fans, Leafs fans, we're the same. We'll be back, and we'll talk about the great Bob Cole passing at the age of 90 last night. We'll be back with Overtime right after this here on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour.
You're as cold as ice.
May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The race for the Cantera Seat Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV.
Eugene Bear as he's lit up by Constantino.
SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV. The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, everybody, here we go for Overtime. As always, proudly brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Calgary, such a wonderful NHL city. And Overtime Hockey Lanes, such a wonderful facility for hockey enthusiasts, male and female alike. Check them out at 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Tell Randy and Michelle that Rod sent you, okay? It's an amusement park for hockey players, and I think now's the time you check it out this weekend. So we do have sad news today. We're going to mention it here in Overtime and dedicate this whole sports update to Bob Cole. I'm reading from a Canadian press story, which I've paraphrased. Bob Cole, a welcome voice for Canadian hockey fans for a half century, has died at the age of 90. Cole died Wednesday night in St. John's, Newfoundland, surrounded by his family. His daughter, Megan Cole, told the CBC. Born June 24th, 1933, the St. John's native provided a distinctive soundtrack to Canada's game. He was known for his signature, "Oh, baby," call, an expression that was not restricted to hockey arenas. Cole first remembers using it to describe some memorable Mario Lemieux stick handling in Game 2 of the 1991 Stanley Cup final against Minnesota. Ron McLean, the host of CBC's Hockey Night in Canada, who adorns our set on a daily basis, said Cole's distinctive play-by-play style, quote, "comes on you like smoke from a campfire," unquote. Well said, Ron. For the entire story, if you want to hear more about Bob Cole, remember the life of the greatest hockey broadcaster ever. It's running right now at rodpedersen.com. It's the top item. Our sports update is brought to you, as always, by Landmark Cinemas. Wednesdays are made for movie twosomes. I hope some of you took advantage of it yesterday. You don't need to be Jack and Rose, Han and Chewie, or Miss Piggy and Kermit to get 2 admissions, 2 medium fountain drinks, 1 large popcorn, and your choice of candy, all for one great low price. But what you will need is a date, a partner to go with you, whatever you want to call it, because this deal is worth sharing. Landmark Cinemas movie twosome every Wednesday. Check your favorite landmark cinemas for showtimes. And the sports update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. What do we got here? 902-518-3033. I've long said this is the best time of year. I'm not moving off of it. Not going to change now. All because of the hockey playoffs. The NFL draft tonight is exciting, though. Round 1. The CFL draft goes next week. And we got our guy here, Darren in Melfort. And this is not good. Double overtime of the league final. Melfort scores, and because it's on television, replays clearly show the play was offside. He sent me a screenshot. It's like probably about 6 inches. That sucks. That is not what the officials want, obviously, and I feel bad for both teams. But maybe coming back tonight, Game 4, Flin Flon gets the first 5-6 consecutive power plays. Then you have people saying, the integrity of the game. What integrity of the game? I don't want to get into that, but it's just, you fire Tim Peel as a referee for simply stating something that goes on in every single game, making a makeup call, but then you turn around and talk about integrity of the game. I don't get it. Hey, BW in Edmonton says, see you in 22, everyone. That's 22 hours. You have a safe one, BW. Thank you. Stacy at Access World Headquarters says, there used to be a phone app which featured Bob Cole sound bites. Ryan in upstate New York, have a great day. Rod, Moose, and the rest of the squad, enjoy whichever sports you watch tonight. Rest in peace, Bob Cole. Yeah, I didn't even get to tell my best Bob Cole stories. I don't have a lot, other than he is the hockey announcer, and then everybody else slots in after that. Wayne in Victoria, BC. Yes, I'm in my 70s and miss Bob Cole. Absolutely the best, just like the RP show. Thank you, Wayne. They sure don't make him like that anymore. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says Football Friday on deck. That's tomorrow, right here.
Who has more fun than us?